It's good.
What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. I'm here with my friend Anton Harrison-Kern. Anton, you are a brown belt, right? I believe in the
Not yet, man. I'm like one step away.
I
I'm
thought you
very
were a
close.
brown belt. I think that
I
you and I
should
are on
be.
the,
Like
the same trajectory, man.
the amount of time I put into my jiu-jitsu, man, I should be. I'm a late bloomer. What can I say?
Dude,
I'm a late bloomer.
I'm the same, man. I always tell people I would rather still be the purple belt that everyone is like, oh, he's not really a purple belt, he's a brown belt. I'd rather be that guy than be the brown belt that everyone is like, oh man, he's a brown belt, but really he got it too early. Like, like I'd rather
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
I'd rather be the sandbagger. So yeah, I think you and me are in the
Yeah.
same boat. But
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah.
experienced purple
I'd
belt
rather
in the dangerous art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
experience
And
purple belt.
you're
That is
also
right, my brother.
an entrepreneur, and I know you and I've worked together on a lot of projects in the past, and it's always fun and always a lot of I've gained a lot of great experience from you and just working with you. But I wanted to ask you, and this is why I wanted to get you on this show, is just how do you feel jiu-jitsu helps with entrepreneurship? What do you feel is the correlation there between those two different disciplines?
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, that is a huge question right there. You don't give me the easy ones straight up, brother.
No, man, we dive right in.
Well, okay. So I have at the moment 6 businesses operating, about 100 staff, a large virtual assistant team. So there's a lot to deal with. There's always something pretty intense to deal with. Staff leaving, staff coming, clients happy, clients unhappy, personal things outside of work. There's just always a lot to deal with. So I think that the first thing is the problem solving that we do on the mats really prepares me. Like when you're doing like a real-time problem solving, like what I think about jiu-jitsu is when I'm doing it, there's nothing else in my mind and I'm just dealing with myself and the person in front of me. Where are they at in relation to me, and how can I solve this situation and get to some point of advantage, or if not, learn something, and I've been humbled so many times repeatedly, by the same person, often over again. I have no answers. And by doing this, it kind of builds up my resilience to business-related problem solving. And it makes the business problems I face seem, well, something like I can handle. Like I very rarely feel like I'm in situations that I can't at least learn from. And I know that the world will keep spinning. My life will keep growing. Like, I guess it creates this kind of problem solving growth mindset, and I don't get stopped easily. That's how I feel. That's the first thing I've got to say about that.
It's like it creates this sort of mental resilience because you've just had so many repetitions of failing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's almost like when we're doing jiu-jitsu, we're practicing this way of like imagine if you're in someone's back mount and you're able to escape the back mount and get back on top, and now you're on mount, and maybe now you're going for a Kimura, and now maybe you take their back or something like that. It's that same thing where you are able to get out of a position that's bad really quick, and not just like become safe, but actually turn it into an attacking position. Like I feel like jiu-jitsu we literally rep that in the gym. We get repetitions of drilling that exact thing under pressure. And in a tournament, you're doing that, but with people watching, and I know you've competed at some high level tournaments. Can we talk about that? Like, what did you learn from competing at high level jiu-jitsu tournaments that has helped you in your business, specifically competition?
I think I learned, like, as weird as this is going to sound, that my overconfidence is probably one of my worst enemies. And it kind of causes me to not be prepared enough, for example, or to, whatever, like my overconfidence in the past really caused me to be unprepared. Then I'd get to comp time, then I'd be really nervous, then I would perform really poorly, and the result would be bad. So while I've been to a lot of high-end comps, I haven't performed well in the past. You know, I'm getting much better at my performance mindset as I kind of grow through my jiu-jitsu journey. But it was a real shit show for a long time, man, because I just wouldn't be prepared, you know. And that also relates back to my business life as well. Like, I really find that there's no point if I'm successful at something. If I do something really well, it doesn't mean I'm going to be successful in other areas, and it doesn't even mean I'm going to be successful in that next thing the next time, you know. So like, overconfidence is what competing has helped me deal with, you know, so that I have appropriate confidence. I have confidence in what I should have confidence in. Like, I have confidence I'm going to show up on time, I'm going to be on weight, I'm going to I have confidence I'm going to be nervous, but I'm going to be able to deal with those nerves. Then I have confidence that I'm going to try and do my best jiu-jitsu. You know, my jiu-jitsu, I'm not going to play their game anymore. I'm going to do my game. If my game beats their game, happy days. If not, I'm going to go back to the lab and work on whatever I got beaten by, you know. That's how it works for me now.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here, because in jiu-jitsu, especially today, the competition level is so high. Like, everyone who's showing up at tournaments these days is really good. Like, every match that I've had the last couple years has been very, very difficult. Like, you know, whether I've lost or won, it has been a very difficult match. Like, nothing, like, for both parties were tired, you
Nothing
know.
comes easy.
And everyone is just so tough these days. Like, I think it's ever since COVID. I think COVID weaned out everyone who like wasn't that into jiu-jitsu. Only the people that actually like really give a shit about jiu-jitsu are the ones who are still training these days and still like competing and still into it. So yeah, like, I love what you're saying about overconfidence, because like, for me, I lost a tournament recently, and I was feeling so confident. It was like I was destroying everyone in the gym. I was like, man, I remember driving to the tournament, and I remember thinking, like, there's no way this guy can beat me. And I'd never felt more confident. I was like, there's just no way that he's going to beat you. And then this little voice in the back of my head was like, yeah, but what if he's a wrestler? And I was like, we're not going to worry about it. We're not going to talk about that. Like, we're going to leg lock him, you know, like, of course. It's not like, you know, wrestlers, like, who needs him. But I learned that actually he was a great wrestler, and he beat me. So I've been working on my wrestling. So I've been working on my wrestling ever since. But that's how it goes. It's like, man, you can feel better than you've ever felt in your whole life, and you can still lose. It's just like in business. You can put out an offer or a new product that you think is going to work. You're just like, man, this has got to work. There's no way I can lose. And it tanks, and it just, no one buys it. You're like, well, fuck. Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But man, you said it, like, overconfidence. I think that's huge.
Well, that also leads me to the next thing. Like, when that happens, right, you can either bail out and say, that's it, I'm done, I'm cooked, or you can make the proper adjustments and find a way to make that thing work. You know what I mean? And that's I guess, like, in as far as my business life, and also every area of my life. It's not just business that jiu-jitsu helps me. It helps me in my relationships with my kids or my lover or whoever, you know what I mean? Like, the bottom line is, am I gonna just quit, or am I going to make adjustments and try again? You know, and that's what jiu-jitsu keeps me present to, is just, you can always get coaching and make adjustments and get back in the game, you know, unless, you know, something really bad happens. But, you know, I see that very rarely. Like, it's a safe space to practice resilience and adjusting and testing.
That's very well said, man. And I wanted to ask you this: what has jiu-jitsu done for your mental health since you started training? Like, compare who you were before you started to who you were today.
Well, I used to drink a lot of alcohol. I used to party a lot. Like, okay, somebody said to me the other day, a fellow coach said to me the other day, when you get to a crossroads in life and you got to make a choice, the choice you make is either going to steal something from your future self or contribute something to your future self. Every choice, you know. And I thought, fuck, that blew my mind pretty much, you know. And, you know, then I got, at the time that I took up jiu-jitsu, nothing in my life worked. My finances didn't work. My business didn't work. My relationships didn't work. As a parent, I was okay, but not great. And then jiu-jitsu kind of crept into my life, and I started to build this kind of confidence, momentum, real confidence, not fake bravado confidence, but actually just believing that I could learn something and be a contribution and be of service to others, and they could contribute to me. And I didn't have to always get it right, and all these things started to develop. So it like built this kind of really solid foundation. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was really contributing something big to future Anton. I just didn't know it. I just thought I was watching the UFC and copying, wanting to do what they did, and then here we are 10 years later, and like, I do not miss jiu-jitsu. I'll tell clients, it doesn't matter how big the deal is. I will say to them, look, man, I'm doing jiu-jitsu at, midday tomorrow. Let's do another time. I won't reschedule jiu-jitsu unless it's a health reason, because it's my health.
Yeah, it's the same for me, man. Like, it's got to be a top priority. And I think that's one of the, I was thinking about this today, man. I feel like one of the biggest things that jiu-jitsu has taught me mentally is how to focus on multiple different things and be good at all of them. Because if you think about it, like, you and I are not Craig Jones. Like, we are not paid to do jiu-jitsu techniques. Like, we make our money in business doing other things. So just by the very nature of, like, ever since I ever started training, like, training has always been this other thing that I've just been completely obsessed with, but I'm not getting paid for it. Like, I still have other skills, like digital marketing and all the stuff I learned when I was in the Army. And, like, now I'm into Airbnb and selling on eBay and like other stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's just taught me, like, I'm still obsessed with jiu-jitsu. Like you can ask my wife, she's like, you basically have a part-time job, as a jiu-jitsu nerd. Like, but I don't get paid for it. Like, I just but I think about it just as much, you know what I'm saying, as you would for some other like thing. But I think, like, it just, I mean, I guess you can make this argument for any hobby. Like, if you were to be a bass guitarist, you could probably say a similar thing. But I think just by being obsessed with, like, something like it, like jiu-jitsu, or being a musician, or just some artistic thing, it teaches you a lot just about, like, you've got to focus on a lot of different things in life. You've got to be obsessed with jiu-jitsu to get good at it, but you also have to still be contributing to society. You have to be working your business or your job or your other thing that you're doing. And just by virtue of that, it teaches you how to be good at many different things, basically.
Absolutely. Another thing about my mental health, which I share often with people who I'm trying to get into jiu-jitsu, I'm trying to recruit them into jiu-jitsu, is the release of oxytocin when you're rolling. Like, that's the capital drug. And I really think that, like, a lot of people I observe, I do imagine they go through life, like, some people don't even shake hands. Okay, they're not even a handshaker, let alone, and they're single, and they're not getting a hug, they're not getting anything. There's no human contact in their life, right? And for some people that may be okay, but I reckon for most people it isn't, at all. And they'll kind of go through life putting on a brave face, but they're not getting this release of oxytocin. And oxytocin has all sorts of health and mental health benefits, that we just need. So to get on the mats and have physical contact with 10, 15 human beings every day, whether I'm single or in a relationship, doesn't matter. That cannot be overlooked, and I encourage everybody to do it. It's not normal to have contact with that many people, and I'm better for it. I know that much,
I want to dwell on this a little bit more, because it's interesting, because a lot of the people who I know who say that they don't want to do jiu-jitsu, they say it's because they don't like getting sweat on, or, something about, like, I've heard before people say, oh, I don't like people's feet. Be like, I couldn't stand people's feet in my face, stuff like that. No, I've heard it. I've heard it multiple times. I've heard,
it's so true. I can imagine.
I heard someone say, like, if they were wearing shoes, I would do it. But, I'm freaked out by smelly feet. Like, I've heard this excuse. But that's all it really is. I think it is ultimately an excuse, because I think that it's just something to get over. But like, what would you say to someone who's maybe really struggling with that kind of concept of, like, not wanting to be touched, or not wanting to deal with, people's smelly body parts in my face or something? I mean, I get it, but I feel like that's something to be overcome. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
100%, man. I remember when I started, I had all of the same concerns. I also had, I had concerns that, if I was getting too close to men, that would have certain connotations. And if I was getting too close to women, that would have certain connotations. Like I had all sorts of views, and yeah, people sweat in my mouth, in my eyeball, just if I'm rolling someone and there's a booger hanging out of their nose, all sorts of gross things, right? I had to deal with at the start. I remember being really concerned about that. And actually, my anxiety was high. Like the barrier to entry into jiu-jitsu is quite high, actually, in terms of what you have to go through. I literally remember sitting in my car. This went on for about a year, before class, sitting in my car going, should I go in? Maybe I could just go home. Maybe I'm not ready today. Literally this conversation every time. But before, after a year passed, you can't keep me out of the gym anymore, right? But yeah, those concerns were real to me. But the development I got, now I can have any guy, any part of their body anywhere near me, and I have there's nothing there for me about that. And I can have any part of any woman near me, and there's nothing there for me about that. If someone's dealing with some sort of, I guess they're differently physically abled, there's nothing there for me about that. These all used to be things as kind of embarrassing as it is to admit all of this stuff, there used to be all sorts of concerns about those things for me, right? Now there's none of that. So I've developed as a human being by putting myself in that position. And it's worth it. Yes, what I went through was confronting in the beginning, but the dividends of that are off the chart, man, off the chart.
I think about this in terms of animals. Can you imagine a dog that didn't want to wrestle with other dogs or something like that? It's just a part of their DNA. And I think it's the same for humans. It's a part of our DNA. And it's something that needs to be expressed. That's the whole reason I call this show Jiu-Jitsu Outlet, because Jiu-Jitsu is the outlet for us to become better people and express that energy, and stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you about this. I know that you've gotten your kids into training, and what have you seen? Especially, I know your oldest, you've trained a lot. What have you seen in your children as you've gotten them into it?
They go through different spaces about jiu-jitsu in general. So I try not to. My son went a long way. He really went all the way to Kids Worlds and competed a lot and learnt so much about his competitive spirit, and about dealing with his nerves, dealing with opponents, dealing with travel, just so many things, just dealing with being prepared for a match, so much at a young age, and then use that and channel that into his basketball and school and how he is with all, he's got as a 17-year-old now, he's got a very high level of reliability and work ethic. That's what I would say, way beyond what I had, even at 25, so I'd say jiu-jitsu is a big part of that. And it's because it's not a team sport. It really kind of developed in. For my daughter, she just dabbles in jiu-jitsu, but she loves it. And for her, it's something that it gives her a level of confidence. Women have to deal with their own separate issues out there in the world. And yeah, she just has a level of personal confidence, and she just really enjoy that monkey spirit, you know what I mean? She just enjoys the wrestle, that's her. And I'm glad that she's that she's had that experience. Yeah.
Something that seems to come up a lot is confidence, and just this ability that jiu-jitsu gives us around confidence. And it's funny because earlier you talked about overconfidence, how it's sometimes jiu-jitsu can almost make you too confident, and then you go to a tournament and you get humbled and you learn that lesson.